I'm also just explaining the circumstances of my life lately. I have to go to the store, there's no garlic powder.
It's so
Ruh-roh.
cruel and unusual.
It's so
I
cruel
didn't
and
bother
unusual.
looking because I thought I knew my parent. You know, you think you know your parents. You think you know
You think
them.
you know a guy,
And then you
and then there's no
pet
garlic powder.
and you find out there's no garlic powder in their kitchen.
Fucking
I don't.
untenable.
You know, there's also nothing to drink in their fridge except alcohol.
You should probably get a mini fridge.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a mini fridge for the duration of my stay at my parents' place.
Yeah, you are. And you're gonna put your hotel postcards on there. And you're gonna fill it with Fiji water.
Why do you want me to be you?
Anyways, great news, I'm recording!
Coming to you live. Not live.
Not quite live.
So season 3.
Yippee, season 3, what a ride.
How do we want to come at this one? Because episode by episode, I don't think it's going to work since it's kind of like the individual episodes flow into each other in a way that feels like they are larger episodes split up into parts.
I proposed this when I proposed that we do a season 3 retrospective, that we split it into segments based on which focal member of the cast was present for that series of episodes.
Actually, sorry, I want to start with meta.
Oh.
So when I first listened to this season, I had the timeline of the show figured out in my head because I didn't know there was stuff up with it. So I thought of it in a linear fashion. Season 1, right. Season 1, we come in and it's like Hotel is doing her thing, and we see how it normally runs. And by the time we get to the end of Season 1, the powers that be are fed up with what's going on here. They're bored, they're tired, we're not doing this anymore, everybody go away. We pop in Season 2, and they're doing something else. This is a new thing. We're trying out something new, we're having a little fun, we're getting funky and fresh with it. But by the end of Season 2, she is again like, okay, well, I did it all, and I'm bored, and I don't know, I put out the lights, and now I don't have anything, and I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. Those lights didn't go out. So when we come into Season 3, she's playing with those lights. They are now the guests because they didn't get put out before. So if she kills them, they come back. So let's experiment with that. Let's see what's up. So I had this in a very linear fashion in my head, and then when the Hotel podcast joined Bloody Disgusting, congratulations on the new network. Very exciting. And the episode guide went up, and it said, this is the beginning of the hotel. That completely fucked everything. Season 4 happening in the middle of Season 2 fucked everything first. And then Season 3 is now actually the start of the whole thing, and that's fucked everything again. And I want to be so clear, when I say that's fucked everything, this is not a bad thing. Please keep throwing wrenches at my head. So with the new thought in mind that Season 3 is the beginning, this is interesting because part of the reason it didn't twig as the beginning for me, even though I do think they say things along the lines of, oh, we've never been open before, is like they are talking as though they have always been open and they've done this a million times. The staff pops into being thinking they've always been doing this when they just started existing a minute ago. That's fascinating.
You know when you see like jobs advertised and they're like they're whatchamacallit, they're like apprentice jobs, so they're like, if you've never done the job before, they want you in, but they want 5 years of experience. That's what working at the hotel is. This is your first day, you've worked there a million years.
You crawled out of the primordial sludge working at the hotel. Applicants wanted.
Please hire me.
I hope you can see that I've got my fingers steepled. I'm sitting at my desk. There's no light in here but like my fairy lights and a champagne-scented candle I'm burning, because I thought it would suit the occasion.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I took some notes on this here. Things the staff said. Stuff like the lobby boy saying the manager just looked like one of the guests after she got straight up bludgeoned. The manager saying the lobby boy has never ever disobeyed her. If you're considering this the beginning of the hotel, this logically doesn't make any sense. But this is the hotel we're talking about. Logic need not apply. This is gonna make sense to 3 people. One of them's me and 2 of them are my clones. But I think of the timeline for this show less of like a line and more of like an amoeba. It is this moving, living, shifting thing with moments on moments on moments layered on top of each other, moving and shifting past each other, swapping places, merging into one another. The staff just popped into existence, but they've also been doing this for like millennia. You know?
Yeah.
They still have been doing this for millennia, but, they just started existing. So, you can't really blame them for being a bit off their shit.
So, with that, the manager shows up, like, pops into being before the hotel is actually built, which is interesting. She has, like, a little shack out in the woods that is, like, her proto-lobby. And then there's the hotel is being constructed by the proto-lobby boys, which is how I think of the builders.
Aww.
They're like worker bees. They're like drones.
They're ants.
They're ants. They're ants. They're doing it. They're not people, but they are afraid. Like when I say not people, I mean and again, this is all headcanon because we don't learn anything about them except that they're scared and they fall and die. I do kind of see them as like not as fully formed as the staff are in that they don't have individual personalities or thoughts or desires. They can feel one thing and it's fear, and they have one job and it's build the hotel and die. And I do see them as proto-lobby boys. And there's also the thing, did we talk about this a while ago? The thing of like a body in a building as part of the foundation?
Yes, actually, we did bring that up.
They're kind of that, which is fun.
So,
but it's like with their blood because they fall on the outside. They're not inside.
Oh yeah, there's this thing that it's not quite a fully fledged theory in my head, and I think this is something that is very much playing with common horror tropes and layering them over the show. But there is this thought I have in my head when listening to this season, that these people dying, these builders dying at the start is almost like it's wood for the fire. It's fueling the hotel's birth, if we want to call it that she needs death to spring up from the forest. And so not only are they building this place physically, but then dying is also part of the process, as if they are fuel for this very unknown thing, which is something I like bouncing about in my head, that potentially death is a fueling force for the hotel.
The dead behemoth.
Also, when specifically they're falling off and dying, it's after one of the times when the manager has been bludgeoned to a pulp. And there is a sense in which there's kind of there's a tying together of that like, as they fall, they're healing her, because she says, like, by the time the last one falls, I'm whole again, or something like
that.
Back on her feet.
Yeah. And I think that scene in specific, I think, is when some of the language used and the way the manager is speaking makes the difference between her and the hotel less clear in terms of organicness and in terms of construction. That paired with that, I think, is very interesting for, is this building her, and then that as a mirror to building the hotel sort of thing?
I actually have a thought on that. Because in Hammering Bones, as Jay said, the distinction between the manager and the hotel is a very, very blurry one. Which, you know how I am about that. You know how much I love that. You know how much I love, like, these quote-unquote people being parts of a larger organism. You know how normal I am about that. But, initially, on my first 12-ish listens to the show, I interpreted it as, the manager getting bludgeoned to death by the gibbering creature, as most sane people would. But as time went on and I re-listened more and more, I started to interpret it less as the manager herself being bludgeoned, and more, her lobby isn't fully formed, and she isn't completely self-actualized yet. So the gibbering creature running through the woods, trampling trees in its, like, manic fury to attack her. Her, like, body is fine in the moment, but she still exists in some form as all of the trees in the woods because she isn't contained to her lobby yet.
Oh.
So that's why when she's talking about, like, her neck snapping, it's all tree noises.
Oh yeah, that, like, blurring between her and the quote-unquote world around her, I think is, very, very distinct and very interesting. Especially when we get discussions within her episodes of the shark skin guest book and then her shark skin hand. Gee, she seems to be made of the same stuff as the things around her.
She might be made of the same stuff as the things around her. And in the mention of the shark skin rough pages of the guest book, interesting to me, and not for the reasons you'd think. You know how I am about my fish manager symbolism, but also the pages of the guest book. Shark skin is known for having a sandpaper-like texture because it's all literally made of teeth. So the very basal components before the rooms are even there all of the hotel's construction is inherently hostile.
Yeah. From the beginning, the hotel is teeth.
Teeth. The guests' names are put into a book of teeth. They are devoured from the get-go.
There is like a question. The question I think about the show is why the hell is all of this happening? I don't think this is a question that should be answered because I have opinions about people over-explaining things. But B, I think the most obvious answer is for fuel, but then also in return, it seems like it's more like for fun, for entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, listen, just because I'm, like, putting bananas on my pancakes in the shape of a smiley face doesn't mean they're not fuel.
True. You gotta spice up.
You can
your
have
dinner.
both.
Jay, what's up?
I was just going to talk more about the organicness
Please
in these
do.
first episodes. This is something I really enjoy. I am a big fan of horror that plays off of the blurring between inorganic and organic, such as such as houses becoming organisms.
Yeah, you are.
Hey,
shake my hand, boy.
As an aside, everyone who likes the hotel, if you want a recommendation for a good horror game, play Anatomy.
When a
But
house
anyway.
is both hungry and awake, every room becomes a mouth. Thank you.
But this is something I love about the Managers episodes. There are discussions of, like, or comparisons, I guess, being drawn between this early form of the hotel. There's mentions of parts of it looking like ribs, mentions of it eating dead behemoth and all that. It's just so organic and described not like a building being constructed, but as a thing, which I think is such a good form of horror. Because buildings aren't, we know, in our day-to-day life, buildings aren't supposed to be things. They're not meant to be meaty. They're not meant to have organs or bleed or have teeth. And yet the hotel is described in such a way that you could believe it does. And that's very frightening. And I think does lend itself to the discussions before of the blurring between the manager and this thing as well.
Buildings where you are, maybe.
There's a sense in which she's being born, but there's also a sense in which this is just how she's manifesting in this world. Like,
Yeah.
with Return, we see that she's kind of out there.
She's chilling.
If you'll allow an understatement. Like, she's an otherworldly being. She's straight Lovecraftian, not Euclidean up in here. So this is how when she talks about, like, shifting herself so that she can talk to the owner. This is like constructing a way for her to interact with us, the population of the planet, in the sense of interact as in kill, but like she's building her little murder house and she's gonna embody that little murder house. She's constructing another body for her to be. Which is fun. I think she's already born and she's making a new one.
It's like the immortal jellyfish.
Exactly like
it can't technically die, so it just reverts to a larval state, and it happens again, and again, and again, and that's how I think of her.
She's happening again.
She's happening again!
I think as well, that plays really well into the idea of, like, putting her back together to contextualize her as a reverse autopsy, because she's contextualizing herself with a purpose, because she's becoming something that is recognized as a place you stay in. She's becoming the anglerfish lure, almost. She's taking a form that people will enter so they can die. Because, like, when you're eating planets, you don't need, like, an assumed form, I would presume. You can just go and do that. But she's not just trying to eat planets. She wants to have a little fun. She's doing stuff a different way, and so constructing herself, pulling herself together, or having people construct her in this specific form to be born as, even as she's existed as some massive unknowable being beyond this. This is a new way for her to be born into and to then recontextualize herself sort of along the thoughts of the people she is going to kill, if that makes sense.
She's putting on her face.
Yes!
She's doing her makeup in the morning. She's getting ready to go out.
Yeah. She's literally putting on her face. She doesn't have a face otherwise. She has to staple that thing
Getting
on.
back to the manager.
We were supposed to be talking about the manager the whole time, and then we just were like, hey, let's talk about the hotel herself again.
She's great.
She's great. We wouldn't be here without her.
We like her.
We like the hotel. Hey, everyone clap. Show's over.
Manager.
Manager. She's literally the manager of this hotel.
Oh, that's something I love actually about these episodes with her. She's so certain about herself still, even like when she's just sprung into existence and all this shit is happening where she's definitely not in a hotel, she's still like, this is my lobby. Like, I think the specific way I wrote it down is, even before her lobby is formed, it is her lobby, capital H. Like, she has so much ownership and like perceived control over the space still, even while there's a gibbering creature wandering around and everything is a weird spooky forest.
It's creaching.
Oh,
it's
and
creaching.
there's that foreshadowing again where she like portends her own doom. She gets in there and she's like, nobody comes into the hotel unless they're about to die, and I'm the only person in the hotel.
That's gonna be a problem.
Dawning realization. Oh god.
I was about to be reminded. Remember, I was still in my early stages of going insane shiny hunting for that fucking Gardevoir, and I was listening to season 3 over again for one of the first times in a while, and I was like, I consistently mistake the sound of the door opening in Forest Fire Night Beast for like a gun cocking. So someone gave the manager a gun.
What was it Jay said? Keys under the mat.
Double barrels under the desk.
Yeah.
I think about that every day of my life.
I think she should be given a gun.
The hotel podcast, and it's like a little leaflet. The hotel podcast, if the manager had a gun, it's a single page.
I think the only person who should be allowed to have a gun is the manager.
From my notes, in Forest Fire Night Beast, the manager is running through the woods to the place it will be, and she hears her musical cue. And that's when she stops, and then starts to run faster. And I wonder what the significance of that is, because it's timed to her music. And I don't know if I want to believe yet that the music is an in-universe thing, since it's like their internal monologues for the most part. But something in me wants to believe that it's something else, technically. It wasn't a musical cue for her, but it was definitely something there that urged her forward. Because the timing couldn't have been more perfect, and I wouldn't put it above the hotel to do something like that.
Like, we're hearing a musical cue, but the manager is hearing something entirely different. And we know people can hear things different than we can, because the owner can understand.
Noises.
Oh my god.
He's hearing the welcoming sounds of a dial-up modem.
Calling to her.
The owner's also yelling in this one, which is quite good. I like that we hear him go, ah, at multiple points.
He was there too.
He was there too. I think we said, when that first happened, I was like, what the hell is this? You're not even gonna tell me?
Who's
It's just
this
a guy? And then when I found out it was the owner, I was like, oh, actually, I think that's very good. It's no longer an audience, thank you.
He's yelling so loud.
And it's interesting that, like, because I went and read back the transcript as well for this, because the transcripts are really good and really informative and interesting to see the format in a completely different way. And if I'm remembering correctly, the descriptions of the owner's screams start out as very non-specific what the noise is. It's just like, oh yeah, I think it's Inhuman yell first, and by the time like the first episode's nearing its close, it's turned to like the owner yells. So it gets clearer and clearer that it is him in the transcript, which I think is fun.
I also, in keeping with the interpretation of this season as the beginning, I like that, I think it's She Is Not Alone, which is where the lobby boy first shows up. His noises are also super inhuman to start. They sound like the creature. They're a bit more distinct. I remember when I was first listening to this, I was like, that sounds like the lobby boy. But it's more distinct in this one. And even in the transcript, it says, like, sometimes it calls it the creature, but it's like wet, heavy breathing and moans. And at one point, the moans turn into like, no, and I can't, which are very lobby boy phrases.
Yeah, and that's the lobby boy, all right. That's our lobby boy.
The birth of Venus, but it's the birth of Lobby Boy, and he's coming out of a mop bucket instead of a shell.
Primordial sludge of a dude.
Yeah, literally like a fucking newborn foal just staggering to wobbly feet covered in some kind of terrible ooze.
Hope he's not late.
He's late.
He's late.
He's a little bit late.
Well, imagine showing up late for your own birth.
His first failing. This is why the owner hates him so much already.
This is why the owner hates him so much. Can't even be punctual in his first existing moments.
He takes his first breath and he's like panic wheezing.
Oh, Lobby Boy.
Lobbert.
Oh, Lobby Boy.
Oh, Lobbert.
The Lobby Boy, our wet little horse of a man.
Our wet little horse of a man. He comes into being. He's already late. And he, like, another of the first things he does is he, like, disobeys. Like, the manager steps up to him and is like, oh, he's all wet. I don't want the guest to be uncomfortable yet. So he's got to dry himself off. And she gives him her handkerchief, and that's quite cute. But he's, like, visibly terrified of her. And then when the guest shows up, he's even more terrified, because what the fuck is that?
That is our guest!
That is our guest, actually. But yeah, it's interesting that, again, if we're reading this as the beginning, which we don't necessarily have to, there are many readings available to us, but, like, if this is the first guest, they already have this conception of what a guest should be, and this, which they refer to as she, which is fun.
Yeah, that's interesting, because, as I do recall, the gibbering creature this season can be interpreted as a form the hotel herself took while she was figuring herself out, so to speak. So having the quote-unquote guest referred to as she in a guest checks in, really, really fun in retrospect.
There she is.
There she is.
And the manager takes the lobby boy's arm and he pulls away. Oh.
He disobeys.
Disobeying.
He disobeyed. And according to the manager, he's never disobeyed before. This guy was just born. But still, he has never disobeyed an order in all the, like, the Mobius strip time loops they've been in. Yeah. This is a first, apparently.
It's very much almost like there's this uncertainty if they have actual memories of doing their job or if they've just popped into existence with the idea of what their respective roles are, and, like, that is becoming memories to them. Like, she's like, oh, he's never disobeyed before, because in her head, a lobby boy is someone who obeys her. A lobby boy obeys a manager, and that's, like, the only thing she knows. But of course, these little caricatures of these roles are popping into existence, and they're not too keen on filling these roles all the time. And he's like, actually, that doesn't look like a guest's supposed to look, because I have an idea of what a guest looks like in my head, because I have the base knowledge of what a lobby boy is and a hotel.
That's a really fun way to interpret it, actually. I've never considered that before. I like the idea that they're acting based on their archetypes and not necessarily knowledge of their roles. Because, you know, we've been with the manager so far, who is so, like, self-actualized, so secure in who she is and what she's supposed to do as the manager, that the lobby boy not falling perfectly into his role, so to speak, really, like, knocks you off what you'd expect from this show so far. Because, you know, we've been with the lobby boy for 2 seasons. We know the guy. This is distinctly un-lobby boy-like behavior.
This is absolutely maidenless behavior.
Absolutely maidenless. And I'm, like, the camera pans over to the manager's bloody corpse on the floor. Maidenless.
Oh. And it is interesting within that how committed the manager is to playing this role, to the point that, like, that is clearly not what a guest normally looks like. In the quote-unquote rules of how a hotel works, how a manager works, how a lobby boy works as constructs, guests usually aren't terrible gibbering things with the wrong limbs in the wrong order and amount. But she commits to that's the guest. I put the book out for the guest, and you know, she never once is like, oh, like, she always plays this part even when the stage, so to speak, she's being given is wrong. She's still playing this part with such a certainty that it really does strike an interesting contrast, that the lobby boy is like, no, this isn't right, this isn't what the hotel's meant to look like, that's not what a guest is meant to be, this isn't what I'm meant to do, and that he does pull away from that, whereas she's like, no, I'm the manager, this is what I do.
The lobby boy sees things. But also, I think it's very, very funny that the manager's like, actually, it's not my job to decide what a guest should or shouldn't be. I'm just gonna check her in. That is what my job is. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow through. And then she dies. Again.
And then she dies.
She's getting really good at that lately.
It does go to what has been said in the behind the scenes about how the lobby boy has the most power, even though he's the lowest on the rung. He's able to, like, physically change the space, etc., etc. He builds the rooms, and he's able to see that this guest is wrong. where the manager can't because she has to do her job, her higher up job.
Ooh.
But he's able to see that this is wrong. He's able to see this is not what should be happening. He's not able to stop it. He's not able to do anything about it except run and die. But he's capable of conceptualizing how wrong this is.
Which is
I think the
fun.
manager is also capable of conceptualizing that, to be fair, because she says, like, the guest comes in on the wrong number of legs, but she decides that they have to play the parts they're given, and the lobby boy does what he's not supposed to.
Or, like, the way I interpreted it was, the guest walked in on the wrong number of legs, but, you know, sometimes guests are just like that. Like, clearly something was wrong with this guest in particular, but she didn't, like, conceptualize them as not being a guest, just a weird guest.
This is just a new variant
a kind
of guest.
strange guest.
New guest just dropped.
New kind of guest just dropped. Thing that beats your ass.
I do like that theme in this season of, oh, something is wrong. Because obviously the whole conceit of the way the hotel works is you check in as a guest and you're like, wait, something is wrong. This isn't how a hotel's meant to be. This room is filled with bees covered in super glue that are flying at me to get stuck and then just sting me over and over again. That's not what's normally in a hotel room. But in season 3...
Where you're from, maybe? I'm from Florida.
That's not how it's meant to be if you're not in Florida. But in season
Florida, we
3...
get stung by super glue bees in our hotel rooms and we like it.
Oh, God. But yeah, season 3 kind of flips that on its head, where it's actually the staff going, hey, this isn't how a hotel's meant to be, this is wrong, and plays with how they react to that, whereas, like, when we see guests, some of them do accept it and just go along and, you know, go with what the room is without pulling attention to there anything being wrong. Some of them do panic and try and run away, and now that's the staff doing it in this season.
The guests are like, hey, this isn't what a hotel lowercase black font is supposed to be, and the staff are like, hey, this isn't what a hotel capital H purple text is supposed to be.
The distinction is there.
The distinction is important.
It's so important.
And the lobby boy watching as the manager and the thing currently eating her dead body, like, disappear from his sight as the pulsing darkness creeps into the lobby. Well, he did decide to run. Brave of him.
Yeah.
Real winners quit. But also,
bricks.
as he's running, he hits the second floor, he hits the guest rooms, and he sees the candle. And the candle's just there initially. He says like it's winking at him. Funny. But the candle's just there initially. And then he says he imagines the skin of the wallpaper, catching fire. And that's when he starts to run. And that's when everything does catch fire. And we know the power he has over the hotel and over the rooms.
Oh.
So the idea that he, like, because he imagined the candle setting the halls alight is why he ended up burning to death trillions of times.
You think he did it to himself?
He is the architect of doom in the hotel. And so he had to be the architect of his own demise.
Oh, fuck. He built his own fucking room.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm recording again. Okay. Ibis, can you say your lobby boy gender thing again? Because I really, really want to keep that in.
Yes, and I don't think I don't know how much of it I'm gonna get the same, but let's try it. There's also, like, and this is a thing that's probably only going to make sense to me, but the lobby boy's whole section where he's, like, running through all the rooms and trying to get himself is kind of how I got to my gender identity, because I kind of had my world shaped by, like, the 2010s very online Tumblr feminist kind of idea of, like, all men are bad and they're bad because they're men, and that's something inherent to men is that they suck. So I couldn't be a man because then I would be a bad person, and I had to confront that, and I had to, like, to find out who I actually am, I had to, like, chase myself and go after myself and find myself and catch myself and be in a room with myself and burn to death in it, and then realize, oh, this is fine, actually. Men aren't inherently bad, and I can be a man and not be inherently bad, because it's horseshit, because it's bioessentialist horseshit. And that kind of whole thing that the lobby would kind of starts of, like, chasing after himself and trying to get himself rings true with this, especially since I think I recall this season was written during the pandemic, and like the pandemic was when I had to do that because I thought I had figured it out. I thought I was like, I was distancing myself from femininity because it felt better to be away from that. I'd gone to non-binary and that felt okay, but there was still something back there, and when I was like stuck inside because it can't go nowhere, I had to take it out again and confront it and figure out what it was. So that part of the season kind of resonates with me for that reason. And that is why also Lobby Boy trans.
Lobby Boy literally trans.
Yeah, it's interesting when, because I don't I don't think that was also the intention when this season was being written, to write a kind of connecting on a personal level trans metaphor, but it's very interesting how much of horror resonates with queer people because society conditions us to see ourselves as monstrous, because our identities and the way we express love and attraction are pitted as deviant from the norm. We can see ourselves, some of us can see ourselves reflected in horror tropes because here's this other thing that's outcast and ostracized and seen as other. And you might go, well, what's so wrong about that other than you've told me that's wrong? What if this person is actually, this creature, this whatever, is actually fine and just minding its own business and you decided it was wrong? And if it's defending itself against you and you take that as further proof of how awful it is, maybe you suck actually? And of course, it doesn't really apply to the hotel because she's murdering people.
Hey, I think it applies to her just fine.
I think it applies to her just fine. I don't think she has. I think if she has a gender, it's because she was like, oh, that looks like a fun concept you came up with. I might just play that a little bit.
She's gonna yoink that. That's hers.
But I do love how much horror resonates with the marginalized, because you see a reflection of yourself. And you can kind of embrace that and be like, if you're making me out to be a monster, I'm going to be the coolest monster. I'm going to have really big fangs and claws.
Yeah. There is a lot of like, it is very interesting because obviously I'm also coming from a lot of my reading of horror have a queer lens to it because
Texas Chainsaw Massacre liker.
Because I'm a Texas Chainsaw Massacre
You
liker.
like TCM.
I'm the horror guy and specifically the Texas Chainsaw guy. For context for people listening to this, I have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre picture on my wall. Two art prints on my other wall, and a bedspread with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a shirt. But anyway, I really enjoy how much you can read more abstract horror, which I would say this season does go more into. A sort of abstract and very interesting and cosmic horror, with a lot more... Well, it's very hard to describe, actually, the actual vibe of it. I believe intentionally, because that's the kind of horror this is. But there's a lot more room to read themes and things into it that you can then get introspective and apply to your own feelings, or like, oh, this puts me in mind of this experience and stuff. Especially when it's this cyclical inner struggle that the Lobby Boy is having in this moment, I think is so good for like applying to stuff like that. Like Ibis's thing about gender, and like I've always read as well a little bit about stuff to do with anxiety into there, with the like having to chase yourself and realize that it's you that you're running from, and confront yourself and stuff like that. I think it's fascinating.
I want to pitch my own piece in here, but I have no idea what I'd say as the only person in this call who isn't a trans man. My gender is not anything distinct, but it is the flamboyance. It is the show.
Gender is when you wear a big coat.
It is very much walking down like a foggy catwalk in a like tight slinky dress.
This is also how I imagine gender is for the hotel, you know.
Hey, ooh. Yeah. Hey, you're flying a bit close to the sun, Icarus.
Your kid is a bit close to the sun.
Ah, my wax wings! No! I'm gonna fall and the lobby's gonna catch up too fast to me from the top.
Like, gender is whatever I can make into a performance.
Gender is a performance, and they're trying to get me off the stage with a shepherd's crook.
Gender is performance, and whether they like it or not, I'm about to win an Oscar.
And then to cut to the owner.
The owner!
I have got to say, if... This is the funniest thing in the world to me. If we read this as the beginning, And as soon as they appear in the show, it's their inception, their birth. The owner comes into being, he looks at the corpse of the lobby boy on the floor, and he goes, thank God, we need to get rid of that guy for a while now. Sir, you've existed for 10 seconds, and you didn't even meet the guy when he was alive. And you hate him so much.
He was there too.
He was there too, but he wasn't there too yet. He hasn't fallen yet. He will have been there when he does that.
Exactly.
I have a very set timeline in my head that is not even slightly linear.
I think that's good. Knock yourself out of that linear mindset. Embrace the Sigma growth set.
The Sigma grind set is, I think, what the owner is on 24/7. He's like furiously watching all those fucking "Are you an alpha or a sigma" videos. He's trying to figure it out.
Are
He's
you
like,
a Quiggle male? Is it rarer than an alpha?
Are you a boggle?
Are you a boglin?
So yeah, he comes into being. He looks at the lobby's boy, the lobby's boy,
The lobby's boy, the boy of the lobby.
The boy of the lobby. The lobby boy's corpse. He says, "Thank God, I hated that guy." And then the hotel's like, "Okay, well, hold on. Let's stop. That's my boy. I killed him, but that's my boy." Killed.
It's okay when she kills him. It's different.
It's different. He does have that line of like, "Have we ever been open?" And the hotel's like, "No, we didn't open again yet."
Again, being the keyword.
Again, that's the thing. That's the keyword there is again. So have they been open before? Who's to say?
A little bit.
A little
if you
bit.
squint. And like tilt your head slightly to the left.
I really love Avoid because when the hotel speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 3 episodes of season 3 are real good for us hotel fans.
I love when the hotel like starts talking and it's like, "Oh, hello.
I like when she shows up and you immediately know shit is about to get real.
So real.
But not in the like shonen protagonist getting his ass beaten getting up real. Shit is about to get real in the like you are about to cross the event horizon kind of real.
Yeah.
The owner's episodes here, where he's like frantically trying to appease her because he's like, "I don't know what I've done wrong. He hasn't done anything yet. He popped into being 5 minutes ago." But he's like, "I don't know what I've done to displease you. You know, he wants to like fix this. He wants to not die over and over again if he can help it." And she's like, "Oh no, you're doing exactly what I want you to do. You always do. I want you to die." "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Except instead of like, "Oh, do you expect me to beg?" He doesn't even ask, "Do you expect me to beg?" He's already begging.
Yeah.
That's just how this is with her.
That's just how this is with her.
It won't work, but he can try.
It is wonderful because the owner, as we've seen him, has always been this very pompous. He's higher up than everybody else. Like, he sees how things are going. He sees things that the others can't. And here he is so reduced in a way. Like, every time he talks to the hotel, we get this reminder that actually he's not insignificant, but he's not that significant in the grand scheme of things.
The hotel isn't open yet, so he has nothing to own.
Yeah.
What meaning does owner have when the thing that he owns doesn't exist? What is he then? He only he's defined by the hotel, but when the hotel's not there, what is he fucking defined
The staff he
by?
oversees? Dead. The hotel? He has nothing besides his title and the power the hotel herself allows him to believe he has.
He even tries to assert that against her, against, the creature that's coming for him. When he hears the manager saying, "I didn't run, and you died," and he's like, "Well, no, wait, I'm the owner, okay? I own all this, I'm not some simple manager or lobby boy," although he is, the third clone, and there's degradation there, but we'll get to that or not. All of this is beneath me, I am stronger than you, and then he gets super murdered, and he continues getting super murdered as the credits roll. The noises are difficult for me, I don't enjoy them. So the first couple episodes where we end or have in the middle the manager getting beaten to a pulp, I have to turn the sound down, I don't like those. When the owner is getting mulched, I just sit there and I laugh because it's
really stinking funny.
Really good horror comedy. I lose my shit. It's unfortunately very funny.
That's what this show is really good at. So the sound effects are really make this season for me. The gibbering creature, like the creaking of the wood, the hammering of the nails, the snapping and the twisting and the breaking and the crunching, and the popping of light bulbs and the dinging of elevators and the twinkling of the stars in the void. Good God, and even the twinkling manages to be distorted. It's very obvious that something is not right. Good God, is something not right. I love it. I love it.
I should say, it's just the meat sounds that I don't enjoy. The sounds, just the sound of this whole season is really fantastically done, especially the elevators when the lobby boy is running. Like, that's beautifully done.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, managing to build that soundscape, which is it's a soundscape that doesn't exist in real life. Like, you can't find a corridor occupied only by elevators.
Not in the UK,
and yet they build that. Not in the UK, at least. And yet they build that soundscape so vividly that you can see it in your mind's eye as the sound passes you by. It's very well done.
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of sound work. Good God. Oh, I'm normal. I'm real normal about it.
And I like going back to the owner, when we come back from sounds of gruesome owner murder continue over the credits, and he, now he's back in the void and he's walking and he's like, wherever I go, there's gonna be someone. I'm gonna kill them. It feels very much like he's suffered a bit of an ego hit and he needs to kind of reestablish that. He's gonna kill someone about it. No, he's not. Unfortunately.
To me, it felt like, here is what I'm going to do. Here is what I'm here to do. Here is what I have to do. I hope this will make her stop throwing me like a rag doll.
Oh, no. He's gonna get ragdolled.
He's gonna get ragdolled.
I also like how when we get further into these episodes and the more he's gone through this, Graham Rowett does the thing with his voice. He sounds more haggard. He sounds like he's on the verge of like his voice breaking. He sounds like, oh God, I have to do this again. And it's like not lobby boy levels, but he's like my mental image of him gets more harried and more ruffled up, and like his hair's all over the place, his tie's falling off, his suit's getting ripped up. Like he's just getting the shit kicked out of him, unfortunately. And all that comes through the voice, which is just beautiful.
He gets a little messed up.
He just sounds so like directionless. He sounds not like he's doing this because he wants to, but because he's compelled to.
Yeah. He walks forever, or maybe for seconds. The lobby shows up overhead. The hotel's like, get a good look this time. And it's like, how? Because I'm falling to my death currently, ma'am. I would love
to get better eyes.
Madam, I would love to have a better look at this. However, I cannot do that while I am actively falling.
Maybe you just hold it there? Maybe you should be a kind of raptor or something. I don't know. Have you like considered it? Have you maybe thought about that a little bit? Life would be like way easier for you if you could spot a mouse from a couple miles up in the air. I'm just saying.
And then, of course, the realization that they are all one. That's not just the lobby boy. Oh yeah, he sees the lobby boy and he goes fucking apoplectic.
Self-hate. I can feel every cell in my body and they're beating the shit out of each other.
That they are all the same thing. He's the gibbering creature. He's also the lobby boy cowering in the corner. He's also the manager getting pulped. And the manager is also him, and the lobby boy is also him. And,
this being conveyed by the speaker changing and carrying on the same sentence, the same...
And I wrote that down.
Yeah. I wrote that shit down. It hit me in the moment. It felt so fulfilling in a way. It just makes sense. It wraps everything up in a nice little package. It feels like the natural conclusion of everything the season has been building up to. Whipping the staff into shape. before they officially open.
Especially with the owner being like, oh, I'm not just some manager or lobby boy, I'm something better, I'm in charge, and then being shown, no, you are, you're all equal because you're all part of the same thing, buddy.
I do think them all being, like, shards of the same entity is very fun, though. I'm in a great mood after all that.
Thinking about the season as a whole, it's interesting as a transition between season 2 and season 4. It's interesting as a beginning for the whole of the hotel because it does kind of feel like training, basically. Like, is this the onboarding process that they talk about? She's conditioning them to work how she wants them to work. She's kind of drilling in the concept she needs them to get.
Workplace violence.
This is the hotel. These are your functions. You pop into being knowing them, but know that you can't go against me. That whatever I want to happen is gonna happen, and you don't have a say in the matter. Source, I am killing you.
Yeah, like this is how it's gonna go. Don't get ideas above your station. This is how it is. Come on now, get ready.
And again, as a tragedy enjoyer, wonderful season. The inevitable is upon you. You are going to die multiple times because she wills it. You don't have a way to avoid that. You can do stuff on the way to that feels like free will, and what you do on the way to it does matter. The lobby boy runs, the manager stays, the owner waffles about it for a while.
Tracks for them.
Yeah, tracks.
Boil them down to their basest components.
The owner has a little crisis about it.
It's that thing again that like gets touched upon with the guests. It's how different people react to the inevitability of what's happening here. And it's very good. It's very interesting. I like getting to see the way the show works with horror, where it is like there is no happy ending where you don't get bludgeoned by a gibbering creature and you don't get thrown into a wall several times and you don't get put through a burning room several times. Like, no, this is inevitable. It's not about escaping that. It's about like what happens during and after, and I think that's very, very interesting in horror and in the way the show does horror.
So I think we are ready to talk about Merp and Burble.
Let's talk about Merp and Burble.
We're back to the season 2 format, a similar format to season 2, not exactly the
I mean, it
format.
still stands to be said because this was a rental property.
This is a rental.
Yeah.
Not quite an Airbnb.
Important things that stand out to me. Number 1, return of Burger Baby Mrs. Bones kind of vibe, where the manager wants, and she's mad she can't have, and her goal is to get in there and get.
Yeah.
And return to Burger Baby Mrs. Bones vibes in that she is freaking out.
Yeah.
I love it when she freaks out.
It takes longer for her to get into character in this one, whether that's because we just have longer episodes now, which I love the longer episodes, very much in favor of those, I should say. But it takes her a lot longer than, like, Burger Baby or Mrs. Bones to become the monster that the hotel is making her be. Like, she shows up and she's like, okay, I know I have to do something. I know this is wrong. I'm in this weird location and all of it is bad. She talks super fast, which is a new one for the manager.
Really new one. Really fascinating. Part of, like, her core being is being self-assured. This is freaky. I love it. Something is so wrong.
Something is so wrong, and she's not happy. And she becomes the thing. And the person she kills is not a guest. The person she kills owns the place, manages the place.
Funny.
Is setting the place up for the guests. He's staff proxy. The hotel's... And the next episode hasn't come out yet. I think it's coming out in a little over a week. So we won't know until
this is being recorded on the 6th of August. For patrons, it will be coming out on Sunday the 14th. For normal people, Monday the 15th, I think.
I love the implication that of course we're not normal.
Yeah. You think we're normal about this show? We have a fan cast. Do you think I'm normal about this show? Look at my avatar on Twitter, and on Discord, and in this fucking show.
But she's killing the staff. We won't know until the next episode comes out whether or not this is like a continuing theme, but I think it's very important that the first episode, which has to set the tone for the season to come, that is the purpose of a first episode, unless you're doing some weird shit, and you're always free to do some weird shit.
I like it when weird shit happens in the hotel.
Crucially, it's a guy who owns and manages and staffs the place. that she's killing.
And he stocked the pantry with just chips like a freakazoid.
He's a landlord. This is praxis.
This is praxis.
It was right for her to do this.
Direct action! Comrade manager!
Comrade Slar.
Comrade Slar! Comrade Slar!
Is the guy a reference to anything? His clothing is described kind of specifically, so I do wonder, is this a horror reference I don't get because I'm not cool enough? And he's out in the desert mountains. God, you know the nearest grocery store is not close, and he only stocked that place with chips. This guy sucks.
That was intentional. It's like a Saw room.
Oh.
He was constructing his own room. You, Jay, come over here. Come here, boy.
This is the competition. The hotel's like, I gotta get rid of this guy.
This is one of the Imperium Arms' staff. Get rid of this freak.
This episode as well has like a really strong visual in my head. It's one of the ones that I find like it's incredibly visually striking. It's very vivid and very easy to imagine in a 3D visual space, which I find very interesting. And I think it's down to how descriptive the language is in this episode. In a very interesting way. The way I can't articulate very well, which I'm sure is coming through, but it does have a slightly unique feeling to the way this episode is described, which makes me very excited to see what kind of worlds are going to be built in future episodes for season 5, because it's just very striking.
I want to see more weird little properties. I want to see the staff be more weird little creatures. And most importantly, I want more hotel shitfuckery.
Yeah.
That's my sole request.
I like the way the manager works in this, where she still has the cognizance of the manager, and she still has that, the same brain, but the way she behaves and expresses stuff is so like animalistic, which is very similar to things like in season 2. But she's just like scratching at windows and doesn't notice till she's like snapping out of it and all that, and it's just very interesting.
She felt more like herself than she felt in Mrs. Bones and Burger Baby. It's not like we're seeing like the manager put into the role of another persona. This is just the manager creeching. This is normal manager behavior. Creepy. This is manager enrichment.
Manager free of the like constraints of what a manager has to be, and oh god, it turns out she's like
she's like skitting around on all fours and like biting people and shit. This is like her break.
This is what happens in the break room.
I love workplace violence.
Excited for oh, well, okay, briefly, I think I've already given my thoughts on the matter, but since we talked about Merp and Burble, the solo.
The solo!
Oh.
You liked it, didn't you?
I liked it a lot. It was everything to me. It was really pretty. I read the thing on Patreon about like what song it was going to be and the opera it's from and the point it occupies in the narrative, and I went and I got a box of tissues and I needed them. Oh, if you're not a patron, please join the Patreon.
Please join the Patreon.
Oh god.
To no one's surprise, I'm a hotel tier supporter.
So fucking
the
good.
bonus episodes are worth it. Joining the Patreon is worth it for the bonus episodes alone. But subscribing at a higher tier, if at all possible, is absolutely worth it if you're a freak like me who can't get enough of behind-the-scenes content.
And especially just because, if you couldn't tell from the fan cast we're doing, I love this show. I love everything that goes on in it, and I'm really happy that I get to support the people who make it.
We like
way.
the hotel. The hotel is one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had, like fan base wise, because of just how close the connection there is between the cast and showrunners and the fan base. It's different to literally like anything I've ever been into before. The entire feel is so much different. It's so like it's like our own little ecosystem.
Are we the lichens in that ecosystem? I would like to occupy this space. Again, if we're an ecosystem...
I think you'd take a liking to it.
Yes. Well, that's all the time we have, folks.
Oh, buddy, we can keep going as long as you want.
But I mean, I don't know. Do we have anything else to say further about Merp and Burble, about season 3?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Merp and Burble, a lot of discussions we're going to have about it are going to be further contextualized with subsequent episodes.
Yeah,
so
not
as
much
the
to
season...
say with one episode to go off of.
Yeah, because I don't want to make too many concrete theories. Like, I can't speak for both of you, but
An episode that like directly contradicts everything you just theorized is the nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
For you, maybe.
You're good at doing theories and stuff.
You're better at it than
you're
me.
Ira.
I just assume that I know everything.
I love tearing all that shit down and building it up again. Wow, we'll begin again. Now at the end.
Yeah, I think our faves from this show kind of show in the way we talk about the show, if you know what I'm saying by saying this.
What does this say about me? What are you saying?
I like that
I just
all of
think
us
you
have,
like to sort your little audits in your little filing cabinets, and you like to have a nice little pen that you sign things with, and you like to have things a little bit tidy so you can put them together and you know where things go and when.
If I have a favorite pen, it is none of your business.
Was I right? Did it hurt?
If I sort my Skittles by color before I eat them, it is none of your business.
Was I right, though?
We're gonna go off call and Ibis is gonna leave the call and we're just gonna hear flap, 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 flap.
I'm gonna go off call and you're gonna hear me blowing out my candle.
And sadly, dear listeners, I think considering I didn't want to make theories based on one episode because oh no, what if they get rebuked? Oh no, what if I'm wrong? I think I am squelching sadly away to the closet where they keep the broom.
Yeah. Oh, it's all coming together, boys. Oh, it's all coming together.
I'm putting on the tiny felt lobby boy hat that I made.
It's like a genuine podcast in here.
Listen.
I literally have my hands folded behind my back and I'm pacing right now.
You're really funny, dude. You're really stinking funny. I'm filing my nails.
I'm gonna get a cape and a feather ruff.
I'm trembling for no reason.
Hey, I think we should change our avatars for this pod.
Oh no!
I think we should commit to the bit.
Oh, I could make a little cosplay on mine.
Oh my god, that would be really cute.
On yours.
I might do that.
Commit to the bit. Commit to the bit.
I'm gonna commit to it. I need something small to draw in the week.
Ibis, you know what that means.
Do I know what that means?
Put the cape on.
Oh, we're giving him too many powers.
You're holding a gun to my head.
Oh, I absolutely am.
What have I done to displease you?
So if we're all embodying different characters, what does that say about me and Ibis dating?
Ooh.
He's gonna attack me. I'm gonna have to hit him with an elevator.
Oh god, no. On the topic of ships, if we're going that way, I think it's really funny that no matter what you ship, and no matter I've seen some of it, I don't think I've seen a single person go for owner and manager.
Oh,
That's actually really funny.
There's just they interact, they talk with each other, they clearly have feelings about each other, and no single person who listens to this podcast, if I'm wrong, get in my DMs, I want to study you, has looked at them and gone, oh yeah, they should kiss. Allegedly, I have heard rumors, I have heard whispers that there was at one time a contingent of owner lobby boy shippers, but no owner manager.
One last thing. While we're on the topic of ships, let's talk ship names.
Oh boy, we've only come up with the one, I think.
We only have room service so far, but I already think it's leagues better than what we've been working with.
Yeah, I'll be honest, most of my... I don't care for the ship. Most of my not caring for the ship is the name unsettles me. Room service, I think.
We should really elaborate where you're talking about Manager Boy.
I refuse to say the name.
Candlesticks in the dark, visions of bodies being burned, so on, so on.
Room service.
Room
I think it's a
service.
method.
I think it's a fun name. I think we should come up with more of these. I think we should start a ship revolution. I think we should get everyone to come up with ship names that are just a little more fun.
Thematic ship names are always going to sound better than trying to mush two people's names together.
Especially when they don't even have names.
Yeah. The characters in this show have titles.
Yeah.
So let's just employ some creative thinking.
Employ.
Employ.
You're very funny.
Thank you. Hotel owner, upper management is all that's coming to my head.
I think
But
I proposed that one too. I don't recall.
Upper management doesn't sound like much of anything is the only problem.
Sorry.
Well, this has been We Like the Hotel.
This has been We Like the Hotel. We'd like to close out here with a word from Ibis's parents' cat, Edgar.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. All done now. All done.
Thank you, Edgar, for your insightful commentary.
Oh, little man.
We hope you liked our little fan cast. It will happen again.
Can you say key is under the mat? No, he's a cat. He can't say words.